Hello, the internet!
And welcome to another episode of
80-Bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer.
We're your hosts, Penguin and Termite.
And we are on episode 11.
11!
We've come so far.
Yeah, and it's the month of 11, and Stranger Things just came out, which has a character named 11.
There's a lot of 11s going on.
Yeah, there's lots of 11ing. Do you see that meme that had just a picture of 11's face twice and then 17?
No.
And it was on Saturday. It was like, this is the only time of the year that I can do this. 11, 11, 17.
Oh, November 11th, yeah. 17. Got it.
It was pretty awesome. I thought it was clever.
Are there 7 11s? But you can buy beer there.
I would imagine there's 11 11s.
There's probably a lot more 11s.
Probably 11s. All right. So I'm not doing a vote this time because
Are we done officially with that?
Until I hear from our fans, hashtag bring back the boats. In the meantime, I'll see what the reaction is.
Oh, you just haven't had a chance.
No, I'm not out of boats. There are so many boats. I've got so many more boats. That's a tantalizing little bit for the audience. If you want more boats, if you want to hear all the boats I've got, then you tell me. Bring back the boats.
All
hashtag.
Right. Hashtag on Twitter.
Hashtag on Twitter or Facebook or whatever.
Yep.
Follow us. Like us. Subscribe us. We're brand new babies. Usually you hear this at the end, but we're begging you.
He's a little desperate. It's fine.
No, it's cool. I'm cool. We had a spike. Actually, speaking of 11-11,
we
had a spike.
On 11-11?
So whoever the 23 or so of you who listened to our podcast on Saturday the 11th.
All 8 episodes got hit.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
I guess I said 8. We're on 11. Yeah, 8 just launched.
Yeah,
so
it was pretty cool. I just looked today because usually I look at the statistics before we start. I was like, because typically with a podcast, especially one that releases on Mondays, you see the release day is the most traffic because people are downloading it. So to see a random spike on a Saturday, it was like super awesome. So thank you, listeners who listened on
it's very
Saturday.
Encouraging.
It was pretty cool.
In case you guys are confused about my math earlier, we have an episode 0. And episode 8 just launched, which means we had 8 in the books. All 8 got touched Saturday. Now we have 9 episodes because 8 plus episode 0 equals 9.
Yes. Yeah.
And we were dating us because this is episode 11.
Yep.
And we're just talking about 8 being launched.
Yep.
So there's that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So
we're ahead of time.
Yeah. We're a little bit ahead. We're catching up, unfortunately, because we chose to go see Thor last week.
We did! Termite and Penguin saw Thor, Ragnarok.
Yeah. Instead of recording an episode, we were bad.
Sometimes you just gotta go.
Yeah, sometimes
have a little fun.
Do some bonding, yeah.
And you never would have thought that Termite would have been the one to instigate it.
Yeah, no, for real. I'm the procrastinator of the two of us, so that's pretty impressive. But, alright. Anything else you want to talk about? Banter time? We don't have to jump right into things.
No, we're good.
We don't have to jump right into things.
We don't have to jump right into things?
No. Internet blew up today, apparently.
Oh, there's so much going on right now.
Do you want to talk?
I mean, 2017 is turning out to be the year of, this is amazing. This is awesome, and I don't have any words to describe how cool it is, but this is like the year that women who have been assaulted, and we're going to use family-friendly terms, and if you're already uncomfortable as a parent with your kid listening...
Fast forward like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So women are coming out now and saying they've been assaulted in inappropriate ways by men who are in power above them, management, in the entertainment industry across the board, and it's now in the video game industry as well. I think it's awesome that these women are finally getting their voices heard and consequences are coming down on these men, and it's awesome. Yeah. So the video game world is turning upside down. I mean, it's bleeding into it already. IGN there's like a strike going on right now. They're not going to post one of their shows is called The Daily Fix. They're not even going to air it until they publicly apologize or admit or write a statement or acknowledge. That's this one girl. I don't remember her name. I apologize. You guys can look it all up until they address the issue that was brought up.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
That happened.
That's good. This needs to happen, Like, for too long, in general, like, human history is just rife with men exerting their dominance over women in ways that are just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
It's across the board. It's across party lines. Like,
yep.
I don't.
It's in politics. It's in entertainment. It's in every industry you can think of.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that that's happening. But also, isn't Reddit bringing down EA?
Oh, right. So that's another thing going on today in the same day. There's a long-running story about Star Wars Battlefront 2 containing microtransactions and loot crates. During their beta, it was kind of unveiled. The curtain was lifted a little bit to the players.
And we've talked a little bit about that, too, just that whole...
And I have a blog post that also addresses those details. Since then, EA's kind of backpedaled and said, we're going to take away certain perks that you can get to balance the game better. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then it came out later that it would take 40 hours of gameplay to unlock a single hero. And those heroes can be Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. People really want to play as Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And
why? What's so great about them, huh?
So 40 hours of gameplay is a lot.
Hashtag Rey is Bae.
I don't know if Rey's a hero or not in this game.
She is, isn't she?
I mean, she'll be playable. But I don't know.
Gotcha.
It doesn't come out yet. It hasn't come out yet. So anyway, 40 hours to unlock one hero character that everyone's clamoring to play. That's a lot of hours. And if you want to unlock both, that's 80. That's ridiculous. It would take people forever to do that. The hours of gameplay are how long it would take to accumulate the credits to purchase said heroes. That's the reason why you have to play this many hours, to grind out to get the in-game currency. Now, you can spend real money and get them way faster, but if you don't want to participate in that, then you can grind for 40 hours. So anyway, there was a post on Reddit that EA responded to that was pretty much EA saying, we want our heroes to be worthwhile to unlock, and so we want people to feel like they have reached an achievement or have something that's worth unlocking.
Did you ever watch Scrubs?
No.
Okay, in Scrubs there's a moment where one of the characters says something really dumb, and then, the whole premise of the show is that he has this internal dialogue, and he says, sometimes when I say something stupid, I just want there to be some opera singer that jumps out of nowhere and says, mistake! I feel like whatever idiot needed. Whatever idiot on EA was posting that needed the mistake.
Yeah, he totally needed that, because that caused a huge backlash to this Reddit post that EA had made. Was the single most downvoted Reddit post in the history of the website.
That's so unfortunate.
Upwards of 300,000 people downvoted, and now the downvote score is the upvotes minus the downvotes. So it could be more than 300,000 people that thought it was bad that actually did that. So now EA has come out and said, we have reduced the price of our hero characters by 75%, and they've listed how many credits it would take.
Look at the bright side, EA. You have that many people who care about your game that they hate you for ruining it. You know what I mean? At least people care.
People are very passionate about it, and they care. It's interesting to see how EA is listening to their fans. The beta came out, and there was a complaint laid on them, and then they changed the game, and that appeased everyone. And then once this whole 40-hour thing came out, backlash ensued, and now EA came out and reduced the price of that. So they're listening to their fans. They're trying. I think that's pretty cool. But there still is a massive Reddit thread now that is all about boycotting the game completely, which is the camp that I had fallen in from the very first infringement. I will not buy this game new from retailers. I do not want EA to see my dollar. That's how I'm going to cast my vote, so to speak, to cause change in the industry. I'm not one to ever do microtransactions or loot boxes anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant that I wouldn't participate in that to begin with. I don't think EA is as bad as people make them out to be. They are a company, a publisher, who are trying to make money.
Right. Yeah.
Now, we're coming off the heels of them shutting down Visceral Games. Is it Visceral? There's two V companies. One of them was A-Rays.
You know these better than I do.
And now I'm lost.
Volition is A-Rays, right?
Yes. So it is Visceral Games. They were making a Star Wars game. Amy Hennig, who was the head of the Uncharted writing, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong about these details, but this is the way I believe it. She left Naughty Dog, and it was hired by Visceral to head up a Star Wars title that was supposed to be a single-player, linear experience, much like Uncharted, but Star Wars.
Gotcha.
Gameplay footage was shown at E3. Everyone in the gaming industry was just clamoring, chomping at the bit to get this game made. Everyone was super excited about it. It was gaining so much hype. And then EA shut that studio down with a statement that said, we want to favor more of the games as a service, with kind of basically saying they want a Destiny style game where the content would be released constantly and it would have longer legs and it would be more of a platform than a single player.
Yeah.
So that fired the whole gaming industry up. That happened before all of this Star Wars Battlefront 2, kind of during overlapping. And then Need for Speed Payback just came out and it flopped. The reviews are 5 out of 10. So EA is not doing well right now at all. And then just a couple years ago, EA was voted as the worst company ever in the United States of all companies.
Not just game companies?
Correct, all companies. Wow. They were the worst company in one of the years.
Wait, they won out over Walmart?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So anyway, whatever. I'm saying EA's got a lot of bad press. That's the context that we're in right now with Battlefront 2 coming out. They're not as bad as people make them out to be. They are publishers. They're trying to make smart business decisions. They can see the dollar and they're trying to follow it. And they're not like trying to stomp out creativity like everyone accuses them of it. You have to have like that perfect mesh of like creativity, art, storytelling, but it needs to make money.
Yeah, and
we talked
or
it's not going to happen.
And we talked to A-Ray a little bit about this too, and he had a good point that like, oh, if your creatives just get to run wild with it, they're without being reined in, then oftentimes it's not going to be good. So, Cracked actually did a really good podcast recently too about how a lot of the best decisions for some of the best movies were actually made by the producers, the people, the studios, the people, the people in Hollywood who you think of they're the equivalent of the publishers. In the game industry, you always think, oh, these fat cat money people, they just want to ruin good movies. Well, a lot of times when the director is given the opportunity to put forth his vision without anyone to second guess him, things can go bad pretty fast. So, there's a balance, and we as consumers only get one side of the story typically. Right. So you just gotta keep your mind open whenever a big company makes a decision. You have to keep they are thinking about the bottom line, but the bottom line allows them to continue to produce games. You know what I mean? Like, the gaming industry is dying, at least as we know it, in regards to, compared to mobile games and stuff like that. And so unless the only games you want are the ones that you'll be playing on your cell phone in 20 years, then maybe don't criticize them too much for some of the decisions they're trying to make in order to survive and continue to create the games that you like.
Yep. So. I mean, the main reason why we have the whole microtransaction loot box issue in our games today is because it's so successful with smartphones and all those smartphone games. Yep. And for the record, Termite is on the side of the fence where I want to buy a game up front, even if it's a smartphone game or not. I want to spend X dollars and know that I'm getting the full-fledged experience. I hate the free to download, and if you want to get this far, you got to pay this money. And if you got to get this far, you pay this money, and there's no end in sight. And it's just like they trickle you. And I say trickle as like you spend money at small amounts, little bit at a little, but you don't ever get to the end. It's like this infinite drain, like hemorrhage of money, just to experience everything the game has to offer. And I don't agree with that at all. And I usually don't buy. I mean, I can't remember a smartphone game. I think I spent $5 at Pokemon Go, $1 at a time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever spent money on a smartphone. I've only ever played free stuff. Yeah, and I don't ever pay for the microtransactions they want. But.
And one thing I loved was Mario Run was $10 up front. You get the whole game. That's awesome. But Nintendo came out and said that it's way underperforming. Yep, way underperforming. And I'm like, it's so sad. Yep, like smartphone games, microtransactions. Yep. That's what is making money.
Yep. Exactly. All right, we could talk about this for an entire episode.
We could.
That's not what we're talking about today.
So we got a mini episode.
Move on to our DLC for the day. Downloadable content, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is just a little bit of content that we create for ourselves. A little game, a little thing that we like to
extra
do.
Extra content that you guys get for free.
Yeah, we just like to for the price of one. Yeah, we kind of come up with it. It's usually video game related. It's just a fun little mental exercise that we put ourselves through. So, today's is going to be super nerdy. I apologize for those of you who aren't quite nerdy gamer types who listen to our podcast. I think particularly about our pastor, Gordon. Shout out, Gordon. You listen faithfully.
And he came up with the Podsmasher's name.
He did, yeah. He listens to every episode that we release, and we're super thankful for it. He's not a gamer or knows anything about games whatsoever.
But he still listens to us.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a shout-out. So thumbs up, you want to listen to this one for your shout-out. Thumbs down, because this is going to be the most nerdy DLC that you are probably going to be super alienated from. But anyways, I'll just launch right into it. I love anime. I love it. It's probably my nerdiest thing. I like to think that if you're an anime nerd and you're a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, then that's it. I'm only one of those things thus far. So yeah, anime is my super nerdy thing. I love a particular anime called, it's the Fate series, for those of you who are familiar with it. So there's several different series of them. There's Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, And the most recent one's called Fate Apocrypha, and it just came out on Netflix. So it's fresh in my mind. Me and my wife have been watching through it. Yes, my wife watches anime with me.
Called her out.
Be jealous.
Everyone now knows.
Super nerdy, too. Sometimes not as nerdy as me, but it's cool. So, Fate Apocrypha, the general gist of the series, I'll try to keep it as short as possible, is there's 7 mages who fight over an object from another dimension called the Holy Grail. It's not your Indiana Jones Holy Grail, it's just this wish-granting device from another dimension. It's as ridiculous as it sounds.
Yep.
In order to fight this, and they call it the Holy Grail War, in order to fight in the Holy Grail War, they each summon a spirit of a hero from the past. So, King Arthur, Gilgamesh, Alexander the Great, just to name a few, and then those spirits fight. Now, each spirit is assigned a class that gives them strengths and weaknesses based on what kind of hero they are.
And this is where the gaming overlap
This is where it comes. In fact, this anime is actually based off of a JRPG video game. I've never heard of it, never played it, and I don't even know what the... I think one came out for the Switch, though, so there actually is like a new game that came out for the Switch recently that's in the same series. We'll look it up later. We'll link off to it. We'll fill you guys in. Anyways, so there's these 7 classes that each hero is one of. So, all that's to say, what I want to do is I want to do our own Holy Grail War, but with if the 2 of us were to summon spirits from video games instead of from history. So we are each coming up with our list of 7 heroes, each from a video game, and they're going to fight. So in this new anime, there's actually 2 factions, so this works out perfectly because there's 2 of each. There's going to be two saber classes, 2 rider classes, all of that. So we can actually have our own little Grail War.
All right.
And come up with our heroes. So
you're going to come up with 7.
So I'm going to come up with 7 heroes.
I'm going to come up with 7.
You're going to come up with 7 heroes. Our listeners, our Podsmashers, are going to determine who would win the Holy Grail based on
So it's the 7 versus 7.
7 versus 7,
So you can break this down by class by class by class. Dude, does any class overpower another? Or is there like a check?
There's
rock, paper, scissors style.
There is, yeah. So we're not going to, obviously, we would literally be here for like 3 hours if we were to go into all the details. Okay. So we'll let our nerdy Podsmashers run the numbers, crunch the numbers, and figure out who would win. We're just going to pick the heroes based on the classes.
And have fun talking about their fight.
Exactly. So for those who are curious, these 7 classes are Saber, which is like a knight, swordsman kind of type. Wow. There's Saber. There's Archer. Pretty straightforward. Berserker. Rage Machine. Think Rage Machine. Think Hulk. Caster is a spellcaster. Wizard type. Lancer, think of like javelins or spears. They're like mid-range melee weapons. Assassin is sneaky types. And then Rider comes with some kind of... So we're going to do our 7. I think we should... So one of my rules is that we can't have duplicates. We can't... If one of us picks the other one, the other one's off limits for that. So we're going to go each one at a time. Okay. And we're going to flip a coin to see who goes first.
Okay, so like you do...
So part of it is to figure out which order you want to pick in, because obviously if we have one that we think the other is going to have,
I don't have a fear of that.
We might want to. Okay.
I think. So are you doing Saber? I do Saber, or are you just going to go pick one? I'm just going to go pick one.
Pick one, then we'll review. We'll review at the end.
All right.
Cool.
Sweet.
Awesome.
So how are we going to determine who goes first?
Flip it. Flip a coin using a flip coin generator. Call
Flipping.
it. Wait, neither of us called it.
Call it.
All right, call it.
I want heads.
Okay,
good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the one time the random number generator chooses heads. Oh, I'm so mad. All right,
so
cool. Go
my
first.
first one is going to be Rider.
Okay.
Midna, because she rides Link.
Oh, clever.
From Twilight Princess.
Okay,
and Hyrule Warriors, who knows games? Hyrule Warriors, she is amazing. And you go through and just kill stuff and use like giant arm. It's just like warping stuff out of the dark world and she's awesome.
Cool. My first one, I'm going to do my Berserker first.
Ooh.
And I'm going to go ahead and stake claim on Kratos. That's my Berserker.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about him. Nice. From God of War.
Yep, God of War. Kratos, God of War.
He is
Berserker.
a rage machine.
He is a rage machine, yep.
Yeah, with his glaives on chains.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you call them, glaives?
Yeah.
With a G?
Glaive, whatever.
You would know more. Stage combat person. Okay, so my turn next?
Yep.
My caster is going to be Vivi from Final Fantasy IX.
I had him as my backup choice.
Nice. Yeah, nice. He's a black mage, Final Fantasy IX. He's really good with magic. It's awesome.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm torn. I don't know what I want to do for my archer. I might wait on that one. Let's see what you pick. I'm going to go ahead and for my assassin, I'm going to choose Shadow the Hedgehog.
Wow, he's an assassin?
I think that he would be an assassin. Like, if we were to summon Shadow, he'd be an assassin. Because, like, assassins are, like, sneaky, and he's Shadow. But furthermore, I imagine that the ability to have super speed would be super useful for an assassin class.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think of all of his, like, movesets, they're all very shadow magic, dark kind of thing. So,
yeah. You haven't claimed your saber yet, have you?
Nope, I have not.
I'm claiming him, Gerald of Rivia, from The Witcher.
All right, yep. My saber, I'm going to go ahead and choose Dante.
Ooh, nice.
Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Yep.
My Berserker, Krieg, from Borderlands.
Nice, good choice.
Yep.
I will do, my Lancer is Sung Mina from Soul Calibur.
Oh, I saw her as I was looking up spear women. That's awesome.
Yes. Everyone, I feel like it's an anime, so there's got to be one scantily clad
Yeah, there was that.
lady on the team.
Yeah, be careful with that picture. My Archer is Chris Redfield from Resident Evil.
Okay, all right.
Because he has guns and shoots zombies.
Uh-huh. I'll go ahead. I was originally going to do Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn as my Archer.
Yeah.
I've changed my mind, and I'm going to do... There's not an official... The most official name for this character is Vala, the Demon Hunter from Diablo 3.
Ah, yeah.
So they call her Vala in Heroes of the Storm.
Okay.
Because obviously you can name her whatever you want. But
Right.
I'm going to go with that as my Archer.
Sweet.
What do we have left?
I have an Assassin and a Lancer. Those are my two left.
Okay, I've got Ryder and Caster left, so you go ahead and do your...
My Assassin is Katana from Mortal Kombat 2. She was revealed there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. My Rider is War from Darksiders 1.
War?
Horseman,
yeah.
The Horseman of the Apocalypse.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. And my Lancer is... Oh, I have two. And I know you have it. Your Lancer's done, so I like them both so much. But I already have a Final Fantasy 9 with Vivi, so I'm going to go with Sid Highwind, Final Fantasy 7.
All right, yep. My final one, my caster is... She's a witch, so Bayonetta.
Nice. Perfect.
Yep. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go through them really quick, one by one, each class, so that for those who might have got confused by the order in which we chose them. So we'll go ahead and Saber. My Saber is Dante.
Geralt of Rivia.
Archer, Vala, the Demon Hunter.
Chris Redfield.
Berserker, Kratos.
Krieg.
Caster, Bayonetta.
Vivi.
Lancer, Sung Mina.
Sid Highwind.
Assassin, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Katana.
And War, the Rider of the Apocalypse. Rider, War, the Horseman of the Apocalypse.
And I have Midna from
Nice.
Twilight Princess.
Perfect. All right. So, yeah, you Podsmashers run the numbers or just vote and see whose team you like better.
Looks like the only overlap we had was your backup was Vivi, and that was my main.
Yeah,
Everything
wow.
else was different.
Wow. Okay.
So the hardest part about this is, like, you could take Final Fantasy and pick 7 and just fill out your whole roster with just Final Fantasy.
You could do it with just Nintendo characters.
Yeah, just Nintendo,
you
just
might
Zelda.
Even,
Yeah.
Hyrule Warriors proved that you could probably do it with just Zelda characters.
So I tried to make sure I sprinkled around. I did overlap with Final Fantasy, but that was 7 and 9, so maybe that doesn't count.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't anime fans and don't care about Fate Apocrypha, then think of this as a trial of the 7 from Game of Thrones. These are our 7 champions.
There you go.
Fighting.
And I've never watched this anime before, and I thoroughly enjoyed this DLC.
Dude, you should start with Fate. I would start with either Fate Stay Night on Netflix or Fate Zero, because that'll give you a sense of the world, and then do. It's good. It's dark, but it's good, so you'll like it.
Awesome.
Cool. Awesome. That is our DLC for the day.
Woo!
Yay!
We haven't done rap horns in a long time. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So, what are we talking about today, Mr. Termite?
We are going to discuss the idea of trading in games and all of the things around that.
Nice.
Stuff like, how does it affect the industry? How do you personally view your video games? Do you trade stuff in? Cool. Maybe you keep them.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through and talk about little various questions, and we'll both answer them. But I'll go ahead and start by asking Mr. Penguin here, what are you a trading kind of guy? And if you do or do not, what reasons do you have to keep them or trade them in?
I don't really trade in games often. I think the only time I really traded in games was I sold my Xbox 360 a few years back in order to purchase my Wii U. And I actually sold the hardware itself on eBay.
Ooh, I didn't even think about the caveat here. Trading in means selling. Pawn shop, eBay,
exactly.
GameStop,
Yeah, no,
it doesn't matter.
I'll count that.
But just like getting rid of games for money.
Right. Yeah. So I'll count that. So I actually did that portion of it on eBay, and then I just traded in all my games at GameStop for the credits. Because if you do the research, when you factor in costs that eBay and PayPal take, then it ends up roughly, depending on what it is, depending on what you're selling, Because obviously GameStop, you might have a limited edition Black Label Twilight Princess copy.
Yeah.
You trade it in a GameStop, they're going to give you 20 cents for it, whereas the collectors might want that on eBay for $200,
right.
That kind of thing. So
usually not the case.
Yeah, usually
GameStop's
not the
pretty
case.
good at knowing the market value.
Sure,
of stuff.
Yeah, usually not the case, but nevertheless, when you actually crunch the numbers, you have to also factor in for the GameStop thing. You have to be a member, so you have to pay a certain amount of monthly fee, don't you, or is it a yearly fee?
There's a $15 a year Pro, and they just came out with a $30 a year one, Super Pro. I don't know what it's called.
Sure. So in that
you
regard,
get an extra bump on the trade-in value for those.
Cool. So that's like two. If you think about it as $2 or $3 a month, then you can factor that cost into it's. It would be a matter of cents when you broke it down, but it just depends on how often you trade in games.
Right.
So obviously,
GameStop has promotions too that stack with that bonus as well, and you don't need to pay GameStop to trade anything in. You don't have to have a membership at all. You can just walk in and trade in your game, and you get exactly what it is. There's no bonus.
Yeah. But to ultimately answer your question, I really have kept most of my games. Or I've lost them, or my mom has sold them. You know what I mean? Like, I have lost games over the year. Like, I don't have my full collection like you have. But I don't. I mean, since at least the GameCube days, I basically have my whole GameCube library that I had. Okay. And then the only time I sold games was that. Yeah, I sold my Xbox 360 games in order to get that. But part of it comes down to the fact that, and we'll probably talk more about like how these other things affect the trade-in industry. For a long time, I played World of Warcraft and didn't really buy that many games.
Right.
Anyways, I mean, there was a good 3.
I was about to ask a follow-up question. Is it because you are so selective in the games that you do buy that you don't have a bunch of extra games?
Sure, yeah, that's part of it. I'm very selective about the games I buy. And then I'll say that the only caveat to that is I have a huge library of Steam games.
Oh yeah,
that I've bought on sale, and but they're digital copies. So
those Black Friday sales get you every year.
Oh man,
$2, $5.
Summer sale is just like it's one of the coolest times of year. Even though I'm transitioning away from being primarily a PC gamer. I mean, but yeah, I was a PC gamer I looked at the stats.
Come to the dark side.
Console games are the only games that really continue to sell physical copies. Yeah. Most PC games are downloaded, and most mobile games are downloaded these days.
Even when you buy a physical PC copy, it just has a code in it.
Yeah, I mean, I like physical games because I grew up with physical games. I like the idea of being able to let my friends borrow it. I finished South Park, so I passed it off to one of our friends, Ryan. Shout out Ryan. I like that aspect of physical copies of games, and I like having my collection, and I like the idea that when I have kids, I'll be able to play my physical copies of games with like the fact that I have Ocarina of Time for N64, like a physical copy of it. I'm like, I'll be able to fire that up and play it. And to some degree, I'll be able to do that with my digital games eventually, but like giving my kids unfettered access to my Steam library probably is not wise until they're a certain age to be trusted. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah, there's advantages of physical copies, but I've just been kind of off and on. You know, I kind of just go where the wind takes me in regards to my gaming whims. So yeah, all that's to say, not really. I mean, I've done it before, but I'm not really a trade-in kind of guy. So
all right,
yeah.
My turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you a trading kind of guy, Termite?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So we're going to start with a long answer. Strap in. Here we go. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
We only have 50 minutes.
We can do whatever we want. So as a kid growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of money. We rented games frequently, which is how I've got my expansive game background kind of developed, was because we rented new stuff every weekend.
Yeah.
Getting new games was a monumental celebration. It happened. I've talked about this in previous episodes. Birthday and Christmas. That's it. Twice a year, we got a game, maybe one each, and my brother and I had to share everything.
Yeah.
So we very rarely ever had games to own. Mm-hmm. So the value attached to them is way beyond the dollar. It's like, this is a gift. We're never going to get this again, so I never wanted to sell any of my games because we would only get them so little during the year that we would replay them often. And so we have a lot of replay value with our old school games. So that's why I have them still. That led to me amassing a collection of games that I never really got rid of from my childhood that then established a kind of museum mindset to my classic games. So I never want to get rid of those. I have so many memories attached to them. My brother and I can enjoy them together and have fond memories of when we were kids. And like I said, it's a museum. So friends come over or family. I have Sam, my son. When he grows up, we'll have the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the Dreamcast, the PlayStation, like here, so he can experience the history of games for anyone who's interested. And my mentality has always been to keep them accessible, not in a box, not stowed away in an attic, but hooked up to a TV, as they are now. You can just come into my house and play any game from the history of gaming, the ones that I own. So occasionally I'll go back and buy some retro titles. So pivot that into the difference between any console when it comes to like the console wars, so to speak, are the exclusives. So sometimes EA or other third-party publishers will come out with games across all platforms. Those matter less to me than the console exclusives.
Yeah.
So Mario 64 versus Mortal Kombat 4, for example, and that's the Nintendo 64. So Mortal Kombat 4 came out for PlayStation 1 and the Nintendo 64, and there's an upgraded version on the Dreamcast. But Mario 64 only existed on the Nintendo 64, which makes Mario 64 way more valuable.
Yeah.
So I've applied that kind of logic to modern games. Whenever there's a third-party game, Steam, like you said on PC, usually has those things extremely cheap, and you can usually buy them very cheap at any used game store or pawn shop or online across any third-party seller, and so those games matter little to me. So now we're getting to the point where do I trade games in? I never trade in console exclusives.
Okay.
So with the PS4 right now, I have games like Ratchet & Clank, Killzone, Shadowfall. Those are PS4 exclusive, knack, that I may or may not go back and play. But I will always want those console exclusive disc-based games to exist in my collection because 20 years from now, I want to go back and say, like, I remember the PlayStation 4 when we launched the podcast. Like, we had it. It was awesome. So I do trade in titles that I've consumed, things like Call of Duties or Battlefields and stuff like that are just third-party games that are usually ridiculously cheap. Later, I will completely get rid of them. I'll consume them and trade them in. So that's my answer. Nice. Do I trade in games? Not console exclusives.
Not console exclusive,
but third-party stuff.
Yeah, third-party games, that multi-platform games. Okay. You also, I would say, don't trade in games. From my experience with you, you don't trade in games that you play with friends.
Correct.
So, I mean,
long-term, like Diablo 3 for PS4.
Diablo 3, Destiny 2.
Borderlands.
ARMS, even.
ARMS.
Even though neither of us have played ARMS very much recently. I said, I asked you, I was like, why don't you just sell it? Like, why don't you straight it in? And you're like, no, I don't want to play with you.
Right.
So,
yep.
So I've noticed that behavior about you as well. But cool, awesome. Well,
and small like caveat question to that, and I don't even know if it's on here. How do you like treat your games? Do you care about the condition of them?
I care that they work. So part of it's like I want to take care of them so that I know they'll work. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Okay. I mean, I don't think I don't like behave in such a way. I mean, I'm just careful, just generally careful. But I've been known to have broken a game disc or two over the course of my life, and it's sad and it's frustrating, and I hate myself for it. It
breaks my heart,
dude. I'm about to break your heart. I had a very clear memory of one time borrowing a friend's copy of Final Fantasy VII back when it was a 7-disc.
Three.
We're not getting number 7.
Final Fantasy 7 is 3 discs.
But there's also the install disc, so it came with 4.
Final Fantasy 7,
discs.
3 discs.
On the PC, it had 4
what?
discs. Yes.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah, I had an install disc because you don't have an install disc.
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
You don't have an install disc.
PC gaming nerd. Were your drivers compatible? Did it crash?
You did have to.
Did the frame rate drop?
On any system.
Was it 4K?
Past Windows XP, I think, you actually had to download a hack in order to get the Chocobo races to work.
And that, my friends, my fellow Podsmashers, is why PC gaming is a waste of time. Sorry. Off my soapbox.
Whatever. So I was borrowing his copy of Final Fantasy VII. I remember we went to school, and I forgot that it was in my backpack, and I remember, like, chasing my friend into the building, and then I chucked my backpack up into the air, like in a stairwell, and it came back down, and then it wasn't until it hit that both of us looked at each other and were like, oh no! So I had broken his, I think it was either disc 1 or his install disc. And like,
you are the worst.
The other discs were fine.
That's horrible.
Yeah, yep. So if that gives you any indication of the extremes of how I can cavalierly just forget, like I wasn't intending to break his discs, but I broke them anyways because I'm careless sometimes. So, yeah.
When I was young and stupid and had a bunch of exposable income that shouldn't have been exposable income. It should have been college money.
Sure.
And it should have been savings money, but I just blew it all on video games.
Yeah.
I hated the fact that used games were a thing because they would put stickers on the cases. Drive me crazy. I want them new. I want it pristine. I want it in perfect condition. I want everything complete. The manual, the disc, everything that comes with it. If there's posters, if there's ads, I want those in there and I keep it together as a set. And like, I've always treated my games with the utmost of care. I hate when my cases get scratched, much less the discs themselves. I don't like when dirt accumulates. If you look on my shelf, I've got 4 Nintendo 64 games that are still in their plastic because I bought them new later in life when I could actually control these things and I wasn't just a dumb kid, like throwing stuff around. So like, I'm very much, the condition of my games matters. The cases matter, and what they include definitely matters. And
now that I think about, now that I'm thinking as an adult, and I did a round in order to purchase my PS4, I sold a bunch of crap. I just, if you want it, I didn't trade it in. I sold
a bunch of stuff on eBay.
Yeah. But if you want to lump that in the category of traded in, yes, I traded in a bunch of my old garbage, and I got a PS4 out of it, which is pretty cool. But one of the things I was looking at was some of the value of the games I have. I didn't really know, as a fact of gaming history, that like the gold label GameCube games are less valuable because they were remakes, like not remakes, but like it was a
second print.
Yeah. So almost all of my GameCube games are the black label ones, where they were the original prints.
Yep.
Not all of them are super valuable, but I do have a Twilight Princess copy that's worth GameCube Twilight Princess copy that's worth $200
Wow.
Been tempted to sell it, yeah. But I'm not going to because it's my only copy of Twilight Princess. I suppose I could sell it and then buy a cheaper one. But
you're talking to Termite, who bought a second copy.
Yeah,
because I have the one for the Wii, and I had to go buy the GameCube one too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have them both.
So sorry to talk about Zelda again. The quality, because of that, the quality of the game case, I think, matters if you factor that into consideration. Right. Like if you ever want to resell a game,
the condition matters.
Yeah, the condition matters a lot. If you're ever trying to sell it yourself, trade in maybe not so much, but definitely if you want to resell it on eBay or anything. So if you have a really rare kind of case, then those stickers would.
I have my Ocarina of Time Collector's Edition box. It's over there.
And those stickers would inherently hurt the value. But cool. I wanted to spend some time talking about like the effects that trade-ins have on the industry.
Yeah.
It's pretty, to boil it down in its most simplistic terms, it's pretty well known that retailers love trade-ins and selling pre-owned games. You can't really separate the two. If you're trading in a game, it's going to get sold later.
Right.
And it's the flip side of that is then the publishers supposedly hate trade-ins because they don't see the money. From that.
It's a resale. It's outside of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about the effects of that and what it means for you as gamers and what it means for us, for our culture around that. So
I mean, there's the question of, is trading in a game and having someone else buy it from a store any different to the developers, publishers, than piracy, right? So you are legally coming into a store A, game store B, buying a used copy that someone had traded back in of whatever. EA, Activision, Nintendo, no one's seeing. Sony, Microsoft, they're not seeing a dime from that sale, but the store itself is.
Yeah.
Is that any different to the developers and publishers as piracy?
That's
when you just go steal the game.
That's a tricky question, but then how would they would they play this? Would they apply the same logic as if I were to sell you a copy of one of my old games
from friend to friend?
Yeah, friend to friend.
Store at all.
They can't.
Friends make the money.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's even worse from the government's perspective because they don't see any of that tax money. Right. At least trade-in pre-owned games are taxable.
Yeah, the government gets a little bit.
Yeah, they get a little bit. So that no matter what your feelings about taxes are necessary for the operating of our government. So one could say that they're doing their civic duty by selling their pre-owned games
versus piracy
or trading them in.
So,
exactly, versus piracy. Furthermore,
piracy is illegal. That is a copyright infringement. It is morally bad,
and nobody sees the money.
No one sees the money. You are stealing from hardworking developers.
Exactly. At least,
period.
Yeah. In this case, money is changing hands. Everybody gets their cut.
Right.
Like, it's still fueling and stimulating the economy. Furthermore, again, if that's piracy, then so is lending a game. You know what I mean? Like,
is it, though?
You borrowing a game from me.
Yeah.
Oh, but renting is different because renting the
Red box.
Yeah. No, I see what you're.
You pay a little bit of money and you get to borrow the game with some conditions.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Borrowing a game is the same thing. You don't take ownership
different
of it.
from piracy. I was reading some statistics today too that were really interesting. It was from an article back in 2013. Wasn't exactly the most. I think it was. They were referencing some what I think are European retailers.
Okay.
The one in particular was called Game! All not exclamation points, but all capitals. But they kept referring to America's GameStop, so I was imagining, I think it was just a UK publication. But they were referring to a really interesting statistic that I heard, which is that though retailers don't actually have a problem, publishers don't actually have a problem with trade-ins, they have a problem with the reselling of those games as pre-owned. Now, you can't inextricably the two. Yeah, you can't separate them because otherwise there's no point for retailers to accept a bunch of games that they're not going to make any money off of.
Right.
But the reason why trade-ins are really good for publishers is the average non-trade-in gamer buys, I think, like 2.9 games a month or something like that. Like,
wow.
2.9, or it might be 2.9 games every quarter or something like that. I don't know. It's two. I remember the number like 2.9 games. So around 3 games compared to people who trade in games, their average goes up to 6.4. So they more than double.
Oh, wow. Like, that's the amount of games they buy new?
New games because they get a discount because they're trading in.
Yeah.
So because the perceived cost of those new games is lower, they're actually buying more. So that's good for the publisher for a lot of reasons. A, they're getting new game sales. Sure. And B, they're increasing the amount of sales a game makes. That number of this game sold X number is really important for the success of the game. Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why trade-ins actually benefit.
But those are trade-ins from a game store, like a GameStop or something,
yes.
Yeah, so like pawn shops, for example. You can't buy anything new at a pawn shop.
Sure. But where...
You can't buy new stuff on eBay. I mean, you can, but you don't know if the publisher's getting that.
Right, but the majority of trade-ins are happening at... like
game stores.
Like if we're looking at the exceptions of pawn shops and stuff like that, like
because Walmart takes trade-ins, Best Buy takes trade-ins, Toys R Us,
even Amazon takes trade-ins. They're a huge one too.
Yeah.
So
Target.
They're actually seeing a lot. They actually do. It makes publishers more successful
for
them to
trade. I can see that now.
I've heard that. Or I was reading that in this article from 2013. Publishers will actually even fund trade-ins. They'll actually promote it. Like, give money towards advertising trade-ins,
like a stipend to the company who accepts trade-ins to allow them to get the bonuses. Like, you get an extra 20% bonus if you buy towards the trade-in of this new game.
And they usually want trade-in promotions like bring in your old Call of Duties for the new one that's coming out. Yeah, so they'll do like franchise-specific trade-ins. You'll get extra if you trade up towards the new game. But what they just don't like is the fact that they're getting these pre-owned games. But again, or they're selling the pre-owned games,
right?
So because they don't see that money,
right?
But really, it doesn't really hurt them because especially when it comes to pre-owned hardware, when it comes to pre-owned console hardware. In that same article, they were saying how when the 3DS came out, a lot of Nintendo fans traded in their 2DSs towards 3DSs.
Yeah.
And then when those previous, or when people who had never had a 2DS before saw that the value of a 2DS, they could get one for $50, they would get them and then buy new Nintendo games for it.
Yeah.
So that only helped. Nintendo was able to see a surge in games that they already...
Yep.
That they already kind of, these are written off. These aren't new games anymore. They're
never
selling
even thought
less.
about that. Yeah.
So all these things are just like contributing to the betterment. So no matter what you feel about GameStop, I know there's lots of GameStop hate, and I personally prefer to avoid getting my games at GameStop as well.
Yep.
No reason other than I just prefer Amazon.
Amazon got that 20% discount.
Yeah, exactly.
On new games, man.
I prefer Amazon, and because I don't trade in games, I don't see an advantage to having my trade-ins through GameStop. So no matter what your feelings are, it's like that. It's still helpful towards the industry, but which again, like I see it from a culture standpoint, just us as gamers culture. Like, there's a lot of people who can't really afford the newest games all the time. I mean, I had to wait. I couldn't justify spending $60 even on a great game like Horizon Zero Dawn. Right. I waited for it. Just went on sale for $27. So
I still don't own it.
Yeah, exactly. So I just, there's a lot of us who are in that boat of like, I can't spend money on the latest and the greatest. So to give people a chance to, have an affordable option for some of the older stuff. Yep. I think that can only benefit the people who get to then experience these things, and they don't mind. Oftentimes they don't mind waiting. They're like, it's cool, I can wait. So they'll get the new games that they can't wait for, and then when they get a chance, and oh, cool, I can get this for $50. Sweet, yeah, I'll buy a 3DS.
Yeah,
or whatever new thing.
I mean,
out,
I know I personally avoid full price games all the time.
Yeah,
my personal budget and how I dictate how much money I allocate to games and stuff. I hate spending full price on a video game. I can't stand it. I will always try to find the biggest loophole to get the biggest bonus to stack. And I only go to GameStop when they're having some sort of trade-in deal that I can exploit with my paid bonus and stack this crazy trade-in. They had this deal once. I haven't actually jumped on it, but they did where if you trade 2 games in, you get 20%. If you trade 4 games in, you get 40%. And if you trade 6 games in, you get 60% bonus. And they were actually new games at Walmart you could buy that were discounted on clearance that you could then cycle back around. It was this giant thing on Reddit, and I almost jumped on it. I could have spent $100 of my own money and gotten almost $300 of cash or of trading credit from GameStop, but I still had to spend $100.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that because I was I'm not willing to spend $100. Yeah. But anyway, that aside, GameStop's 20% off. GameFly has a bargain bin that you can. I can do an entire episode, a whole topic on just where to go to get the best discounts and the bargains on games. And it looks like I buy a lot of games, but hardly any of them are at full price ever. Because Amazon really, really helps with the 20% discount.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on there's a certain view that if you are a gamer and you are for the industry and you are promoting developers and publishers and you are all for it, that you will go buy the full price digital titles because that is of least cost to the publisher and of most gain. And so to promote the industry, you would feed that machine your $60 digital, because then they don't have to pay for the printing of the disc, they don't have to pay for the case, they don't have to pay for shipping, they don't have to pay the store, they don't have to pay anything, right? That's the best way. The publishers love digital pre-orders. Yep. You got to pay a full price up front. I'd never do that. But there are some people who do, and they're in the gaming industry so much that they want to support. And even though some people can be given free game codes to review them, they'll go buy them anyway just to help the developers. I'm not in that position. I can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm looking for bargains. I'm looking for used. I'm looking for resellers.
That's why again, in regards to we should probably be supporting the industry that's making the games we like and stop subverting them at every turn. In that vein, that's why I kind of like the subscription model. Cool, I'll give you my $15 a month, and I get unlimited access to the actual content. If I want extra little cosmetic perks, I can pay extra for them. But otherwise, so here you go. Here's my $15 a month or whatever. Give me unlimited, unfettered access to the content.
And Microsoft has their Game Pass for that through Xbox. So you get some of the Microsoft exclusives. Yeah. EA has a monthly subscription thing where you can get access to all their past content. And then GameStop just came out with this new. It's not even out yet. November 19th it comes out. You spend $60. You give that to GameStop, and that allows you 6 months of checking out one pre-owned title from that store as often as you want. But you only have one at a time.
Gotcha.
Whether it's a day, a week, a month, doesn't matter. You have 6 months. You just trade in constantly. You're just turning that game and you pull out another one. But then at the end of it, when it's over, you get to pick a pre-owned title that you get to keep.
Oh, cool.
So that $60 is kind of like buying a game.
Yeah.
But then you have the whole, you imagine how awesome that would be as a kid?
Oh, my gosh.
$60, right? You can, go slock pizzas and make $60, and you have an entire summer of gaming, covered.
Yeah.
And then you can own one game after that. I would be all over that if I was a kid. Right now I don't have enough time to play all that kind of game.
Sure.
So anyway, the subscription model is very appealing to us. I'm a movie pass holder, so $10 a month to go see a movie.
Because it's you get the benefit of you get to support. If it I'll use the example of the only one that I've ever had super experience with, which was Blizzard. It's I get, Blizzard gets my money. They get to keep making good content.
Yeah.
And then I get to enjoy it as long as I'm paying for it,
Right.
So that's kind of, I think that's a good, fair model.
PlayStation Now. There's that.
Yeah.
The whole
PS3
Now. And they added PS4 titles to it. Now you can stream games.
Yeah. In the little bit of time we have left, I wanted to ask one last question, which was, what do you think's happening? What do you think is going to happen to trade-ins, physical copies in the future as digital downloads have already begun to overtake physical sales?
That's an interesting question. It's a little bit loaded. I have some words to put towards it.
Okay.
So I hope it's not longer than you wanted it to be.
That's cool.
We'll try to cut it short. So with the advent of the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro and the 4K gaming movement, the hard drive sizes are not scaling to the same degree that the content is taking up.
Yes.
So a single game could take over 100 gigs of your 500 gig hard drive.
Yeah.
Now those Pro consoles, the elevated ones, have 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte options, and those are quickly filling up.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things at play here. One, you have to download these extra texture packs or the enhancements that are happening. So if you see PS4 Pro enhanced, that's not on the disc because the Blu-rays can't fit it.
Yeah.
They're not big enough. But so you have to download that. So you have to fill your hard drive up with your extra enhanced 4K textures and like geometry and stuff. The enhancements to the game, the patch, essentially, is taking up more space. So you have this digital movement that took off when the PS4, regular PS4, and the regular Xbox One X, they were kind of like the initiative to digital sales. It is charted. You can go look up the facts that digital sales are increasing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Same with
They're
TV
overtaking.
content and movie content.
Yep.
Like Blu-ray sales are decreasing. Physical game sales are decreasing.
Music
is gone. That's the first example. Like CDs are done.
Yep.
And like almost negligent. Like it's all digital now.
Yep.
And so we're kind of moving that way when it comes to TV and movies, and video games are behind it. So the caveat or the weird kind of juxtaposition that we're in now is the fact that these 4K consoles are coming out. People want this big content. And now there's like not enough room on the disc to fit it, and you have to download it, and you're filling up your hard drive space. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like so
the space issue is becoming
an
problem,
issue, yeah.
Because even if you download the digital copy of the game, that's even more space taken up on your hard drive.
And so like you have like 100 and some gig game, and you can only fit 10 games on your hard drive at one time instead of a library of like 20 on your shelf. And so it's becoming an issue. It's almost kind of stunting that growth. And so digital sales, you can't trade them in. You can't let your friends borrow it. Yeah. There's a lot of limitations with digital stuff.
But they often, what I found with Steam, they're often more affordable.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they discount them like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you can't factor in the potential trade-in value, but, oh my gosh, they get discounted. Mm-hmm. Like you wait a year, you can get, AAA title for $10. Yeah. You can get last year's Game of the Year for $10.
Right. With all of the DLC. Mm-hmm. The season pass is cheap too. Yeah. So digital is good. I don't like personally digital games because I like my shelf. I want to see it. I want to hold it. I want to touch it. I like the disc because it's less downloads. It's less hard drive space because you use the disc to load most of it. But at the same time, in the future, like, where are we going to go? Because now, if you wanted to have your PS4 Pro, your Xbox One X, you need to have an external hard drive. Yeah. The Nintendo Switch, 32 gigs? What are you thinking? It's nothing.
It's nothing.
You want a digital game?
I mean, I know they were trying to make it portable, but I mean, I will.
You got to buy an SD card.
Exactly that. That's the exact reason why I'm probably going to only ever get physical copies of Switch games.
Yeah, and it sucks that you have to tote every game with you. Yeah, you can't just have it. You got to switch the cart out. Make sure you save your game and close it properly. You can't just fire it up. Yep. So that's a pain. So there's pros and cons to digital. I like the idea of not having discs. I can just play a game whenever I want because digital is tied to your account, which is nice. It's in the cloud. Your PS4 breaks, you get a new one. Nothing changes.
I think that's probably the next step. I mean, I work in the IT industry, and we look at that in regards to our offerings for our customers is like, how can we just cloudify all this stuff, so at what point do games basically, this whole, what makes me intrigued about the future is like, I haven't done that much PS Now, but like the streaming, streaming games, and it works pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably where the future is going, is you'll be streaming your games, the storage of the game, the console is just basically an advanced Netflix machine for games. Yeah. And you're just streaming the games as it's coming in over the internet, but again, that all relies on strong internet connections and all that stuff.
As the internet infrastructure in the world develops, like we'll see
possible,
that happen.
Yeah. But anyways, one last thing. I wanted to get to your last question there that we didn't get to, but it's fitting because Christmas is coming up. Yeah. How do you treat gifted games differently then?
I will not trade in a gift.
For real?
If someone gives me a game, their gift to me is the sentimental value attached to it.
I see.
And I don't trade it in because it's like a slap in the face to that person.
It depends on
That's how I feel.
The game. Honestly, my parents got I still have it though, which goes to show it. I did not trade it in because of its sentimental value. I didn't trade it in because it's a garbage game. My parents, I actually have in my GameCube collection. I have the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe game that came out after the movie license Chronicles of Narnia game.
We need to play that.
We should. I think I played 5 minutes of it.
We need to do that.
It's so bad.
My gosh.
It's not a good game, but for sure, if I had been on top of it, I would have probably traded that in because I didn't put it on any list. I didn't ask for it. My parents were like, "Here's this game. We know you like games, and we know you like Chronicles of Narnia, so here, this game." I'm like, no, this is not a good game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyways, I thought that was a good question to end on. But all right, that's our show for the day, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
So Please like and subscribe and share us on social media. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we're on Google Play, we're on iTunes, we have our own website, http://80bitpodsmash.com.
It's a lot more detail than was necessary.
On Twitter, we are at 80bitpodsmash. On Facebook, 80bitpodsmash. Like, we have a subreddit. Start topics, start conversations, answer these questions that we have asked each other tonight about how you guys view trade-ins, how you guys view the industry and what trade-ins affect, and like, where are you at with piracy? Some people do it. Raspberry Pis, the Nintendo Classics were hard to find. People were all about it. Like, how do you justify that? There's all kind of gray area. I'd love to have these debates and discussions.
Yeah, and we would love to hear what you guys want to hear us talk about. If you guys like hearing us talk about things, and you're like, we have one friend who really wants us to talk about MOBAs because he doesn't feel like we have represented MOBAs well. So we will at some point have a conversation about MOBAs. We might even invite him on.
Are MOBAs video games?
Is it just a glorified slot machine?
What are you talking about?
Is online poker gaming? I don't even know. Anyways, yeah.
You know, if you turn in 999 or 900 Korok seeds, you get shiny poop.
Yep.
Is that a MOBA?
Yeah, it's... we promise not to talk about Zelda in future episodes. Oh, I can't make that
We'll
promise.
never make that promise. It's our favorite game.
But anyways, the spike we got on Saturday is probably due to someone sharing or
please
writing a comment.
Please help us out.
So we really
we want to engage and talk with you. Comment on our website. Comment on Facebook. Engage with us on Twitter.
Yes. And help us create more content for you to enjoy. But that's all we got for today. See you later, Pod Smashers.
Good night.